Welcome back to the Advanced Selling Podcast, the longest running sales training podcast history. I'm Bill Caskey.
I'm Bryan Neal over here. Don't you love those little?
Love your own name. After
those brain or those? Is that voice? Is it brain or voice? I don't know.
I must have been nervous about how to bring you in or something. I must have
bring yourself.
Started to question my own antics there. Hey, I had a weird thing about a week ago. I got a cold, and it was usually I get the head cold, and it drains, and it's it's blowing nose and sneezing like that. Then it dropped into the throat, and I couldn't talk for like 3 or 4 days. And when you make your living, it really is. I mean, fortunately, I didn't have anything during those 3 days that was like a big thing, like a speech or anything or a webinar. But I had some trainings, and it was rough. And I didn't even want to, usually I don't mind listening to myself, as my wife will tell you. But even those days, like, I can't hear that anymore. So if you're in a speaking business, do everything you can to avoid laryngitis. I don't know how you avoid it, because
you hear like famous people talk about steroid shots and stuff like that. Yeah, I had a cold too a couple weeks ago.
Did you?
I have a thing. Yeah, I'm a hypochondriac. Do you know this? I'm a little bit of a hypochondriac.
I didn't know that.
But I have a little bit of, it's like my sinus on my right side hasn't cleared. And I have a little, like, is it tinnitus or tinnitus? Where you have a little
tinnitus. Yeah.
Very, very subtle. Mostly just when I'm laying in bed to go to bed at night. It's just on the right. It just feels like there's something still in my ear that hasn't resolved. And it's been a couple weeks. So then I think I have a brain tumor. It's like, you got to Google like tinnitus is
brain tumor.
Yes. And then it didn't say what I wanted it to say to worry enough. It just said, oh, it's probably this. And if you have a cold, it's very common. It lingers a little bit. Yeah. And then I said, well, can tinnitus be a signal of brain tumor? 19 pages down on Google. Like, there it is.
There it is.
I told you I had a brain tumor. It's so stupid.
Oh, it's funny.
And it's funny.
Well, if you want to find a connection between two things that don't connect, go to Google.
You can find it. It's somewhere. Yeah. Freaking out.
I heard an ad for a pharmaceutical the other day, and I won't say what it was, but you've heard the ad. It's very corny. And when they do the side effects, I want to record the side effects, because some of the side effects for these things, this one was, you may experience high inflammation, and which will result in loss of limb. It's like, what? So if I take this to help my A1C, I might end up getting a leg amputated? Is that what?
Bill, what happened to your hand there? Well,
I mean,
I was taking A1C and my hand just fell off. I'm like, what are we doing?
I think they should give you percent of odds. Like when they do, it could be loss of limb, could be early death, could be premature heart. But give me the odds. Like there's a 0.001% chance you can
literally.
Okay, well, I'll live with that.
I also then want comparative odds, which is basically like you dying from a vending machine falling on you. It's like the same odds. I'm like, okay, I'll take those. I'll
take those risks. Yeah. Anyway. Okay, so I know how you love music, and I know how you love me teasing you with.
I do.
Clips of songs that you may or may not recognize. So I've got one here. It's a drum solo. Goes 20 seconds or so. If you know what it is,
drum solo,
raise your hand, and then we'll play the actual first part of the song, not more than 30 seconds. Okay.
And this will tie into we're going to talk about like famous people that inspire Bill and me.
Oh yeah. We're going to talk about how we can emulate some skills of famous people, artists, musicians, whatever. So here we go.
I'm ready. Oh, is it Steppenwolf?
Does it even sound familiar?
Yeah. Oh gosh. I'm getting like a Brit. Is it the Who or Steppenwolf?
70s. I think it's a British group from the 70s.
Yeah, it's
and it was an instrument. This song was an instrumental.
Is it not
You're right. You're right there.
Right there, right. Gosh, it's right around it. It's not Cream. It's not Blood, Sweat, and Tears. It's not British.
It's a band that had 3 or 4 hits, and this was probably their biggest, but it was an instrumental. So
and I want to hear guitar come in right after it.
Exactly. That's why I cut it there, because that would have given it to you.
I'm gonna be so upset when I hear it. So it's a British group.
Kind of obscure, a little obscure.
Yeah,
Though,
a little obscure, right? Not like Alan Parsons or anything like that. No, is that too obscure? Alan Parsons.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll play the first 10 seconds of the first part of the song, I think.
Okay. Ready? Yeah, I knew it. Gosh. Dang it. I knew that.
Yeah.
Dang it. Oh, who's the drummer?
I don't know. Edgar Winter is the group. Edgar Winter group, and the song was called Frankenstein.
Frankenstein. It's Frankenstein. I knew that. It was right there. Do you know Haywood was right there? Man.
So anyway, it's weird because you know those things. It's like, it's back there. It's back there.
It is. All right, Frankenstein. That's a good one.
All right. So why don't you tee up?
So this was so I got to spend. This is fun too. So I spent. I've got a group of friends that I've been friends with since we were a couple of them since I was like 10, and then the rest since I was like 13. There's like 7 of us, 8 of us, and the group gets together once a year. I've never been able to go, so I got to go for the first time. 10 years this year. So we sit. So it was like we pick up where we left off. We're all really big into music. We listen to music and all this stuff. So we were talking about artists and people like that. And shout out to those guys. A couple of them listen too. So shout out to my high school buddies who still listen as owners of companies.
Name names.
Yeah, I don't want to get them in trouble. Well,
listen.
Exactly.
If people found out I listened to,
there's way too much. Exactly. Let's see. So, my favorite artist ever is Prince. Prince, who suddenly passed away. Oh gosh, what was it? 6 years, 8 years ago, 9 years ago. So I don't know what it is now. Anyway, I was thinking about, Bill, I'm sure you've got someone like that. You admire an artist or an actor or someone. And I'm wondering, what is it about them that we observe and admire that we can try to emulate as a professional salesperson or as a leader, something like that. So if I started to think of, man, what is, because one thing to like admire Prince as an artist just from a musical standpoint, but when you dig into his background, there are some things, the ways that he behaves that I think can apply to any endeavor, whether it's sales or leading a company or whatnot. So I'm going to give you a few lessons from my man, Prince Rogers Nelson. And love to hear, who's your guy, by the way?
My guy would be Peyton Manning.
Oh, well played.
And it's not because it's because I'm from Indianapolis and that's where he played that I am familiar with some of his, behind the scenes stuff and how he prepared and things like that. But I've got 3 things that I've always been impressed with him about that may not have anything to do with quacking or throwing a football. They might have to do with other attributes. So why don't you go with Prince? You go with the 3 and then I'll come back with my 3.
It's fun. Sales emulation lessons from Prince and Peyton Manning. I mean, you're not going to get this on any other podcast, guaranteed. No. You can listen to all the sales podcasts. You're not getting this kind of content right together. This is fantastic. Okay, so I'll go first. And I'll put this in a cheesy phrase. Commitment to mastery. If you listen and watch and study Prince, you will hear stories of his obsession with the song or the arrangement or the balance of the instrumentation being right. Mm-hmm. And just constant redo, do it, change it, do it until it was as good as he wanted to be. I never saw him as a tortured artist. You hear this about artists. Sometimes they're tortured because it's never good enough. Yeah. I never really heard that version from him. I'm not saying that didn't occur. But when you hear how he crafted his music, I mean, it's just like, he's an artist. He went by the artist. I mean, that's what it is. There's no better emulation. So I think about that as to emulate that as a salesperson. Yeah. My commitment, it's one of my company, Blind Zebra, it's one of our core 5 core values, relentless commitment to mastery. Mm-hmm. And it never ends. And that process is what's fulfilling, not the outcome.
No, and it shouldn't ever end.
Right.
But for a lot of companies, that isn't one of their core values. Their core values is money and revenue. And so go ahead, keep going. That's good. I like that.
Oh, so you gonna do another Prince one?
Yeah, do another one because
so the next one, and it's funny because now I'm thinking about Peyton Manning and thinking, oh, okay, interesting dialogue here. The next one is commitment to practicing. You just took away my 2. Sorry,
both of the 2.
I was afraid. Once I started thinking about Peyton, I'm like, oh no, these are going to
keep going.
So again, what you hear is you hear Prince's bandmates talk, and they would say, okay, we've got a call at 6 a.m., meaning call in the studio. You all be in the studio at 6 a.m. And they would play from 6 a.m. till lunch, get lunch in, eat, get back to playing, and play until 10 at night. He practiced constantly, never stopped practicing, and practiced at that, combined that commitment to mastery to his practice. So an incredible practicer. And I think sales.
Those go hand in hand, though. Doesn't commitment to mastery and practice. I mean, if you don't have commitment to mastery, you're probably not going to practice much.
Yes. Yeah. And that just constant crafting of what I'm doing. I see salespeople, they just get it all, they get it so figured out. They just never examine their own work. You know what I mean? There's just like, oh, we're good. So, let me go my last one.
Well, yeah, go the last one.
This one will be different.
It won't be that long because I'm just repeating.
Let's be different.
I don't want to be a repeat.
This next one was and this will make some Prince fans think I don't know Prince, but I think I do. He never saw himself as above others, as good as he was. And you hear stories about him talking to his bus drivers or his people that work with and around him, his tech, his engineers. He was a demanding person, and he really, though, wanted to get to know people around him. I never felt like, if you hear stories about him, read his books, he never felt above others. And I feel sometimes salespeople and sales leaders, especially, too often can take success that they've had and make it feel as if they're better than others, or they're more accomplished or smarter, or whatever words you want to give to it, versus always saying, there's a story about him buying, his bus driver was really into motorcycles, and so Prince gave him his purple Harley, just like, he's a good guy, you know what I mean? And it came from a conversation they had at like 4 a.m. when the band was all asleep and Prince was up front because he couldn't sleep, and talking to the bus driver, that kind of thing. Yeah, that's a very, very down to earth person. Yeah,
and part of that is, I don't think Prince sought out random people to get to know, but he had his team. His bus driver was part of his team, his agent, his lighting person, his sound, and the team is the thing. Yes. So this is good for sales leaders and CEOs, is you have a team. You don't have to go out and randomly do nursing home visits if you don't want to visit with people, although that might be good. It's more just, are we treating our team in a way that is used, is really beneficial for them, and does it really say we care about you like that? That's a great story. But it's your immediate team first, and then it's the
well, and even it would apply in his case to his customers, his fans. If you hear stories about him from people in Minneapolis, he would post out in whatever form or fashion, hey, I'm gonna be performing at my place, his Paisley Park Studios tonight, starting at 11:30 p.m. I've got 300 tickets, they're free, come out and I'll play a song for you. He could have charged $40,000 a ticket, and he didn't, because those were his customers. He gave to them, and he felt good about that. I thought that was a really admirable thing. Too often we're not comfortable, we no unpaid consulting, and I'm like, you know what, like, sometimes give it away.
That might have worked in the 80s, but today you got to give something to your clients, or even to prospects. You got to give them. I mean, that's what we do here every week. We're giving
absolutely. We'll care about people.
Yeah, so Peyton Manning, I had 3 here, but I added 1 because you stole one. One was a commitment to mastery. I don't think there's any question that if you read anything about Manning, his whole vibe was mastery. He sometimes would get irritated and pissed at teammates, but it was all in the spirit of winning and being the best we can be. The second one was personal development. You as a NFL official know more about this than I do, but the story is that, he and Tony Dungy, when Dungy was here, his coach, they would sit down at the end of the year and they'd talk about, what do I need to work on? I, meaning Peyton. And they'd come up with a list of 20 things. And then during the summer, he would go and he'd work on those things. So when he would come back, his first season was like 3-13. He had a terrible first season. People forget about that. And then he went on to be the real Peyton Manning. And it's because of personal improvement. And I don't think sales professionals in general are all that concerned with that. And yet, when you look at where the world is going, the world is going to a place that is not like where it was. And if you're not conscious of personal development, what skills do you need to work with? Do you need to get better at audio skills or video skills or just communication skills with a younger group? You used to call in 60-year-olds. Now you call in 35-year-olds. That's a different deal. Yep. So all those things I think are really hit home with me, that he never stopped developing himself and his leadership ability as well as his quarterbacking.
Love it.
And the last thing here is just, he loved the game so much. Practice wasn't an obstacle for him. Like when I was playing basketball in high school and college, I used to hate practice. I used to love games and hated practice. And when I realized that I didn't love the game, I didn't even love the game of basketball that much if I hated practice. If I loved the game itself, I couldn't wait to get there, but that wasn't the case. And so I wonder how good I could have been if I really loved the game and didn't drink my way through college, of course. Right. That might have helped a little bit. But are you like when someone says, "Hey, you got a webinar, you got a presentation, let's run through it a couple of times," and you find yourself saying, "Oh, God, I've been through this 100 times.
Right.
I don't want to practice." Then my question is, well, do you really love the game?
Yes.
Love the game.
That's so true, isn't it? I was lucky enough to share the field with Peyton. And now he's retired, and to see, and I can validate live those things. I remember him trying out a technique in practice, trying to, use a way to communicate with his teammates. And, it's like, just like out there thinking sort of thing, what I mean? Like it was great to see him try to innovate himself.
Yeah.
After already being a Super Bowl champion and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, it's good. Good episode. I think that, and this, doesn't have to be a superstar that you emulate. It could be your father, it could be a brother, it could be somebody that you live next door, somebody inside the company that you look at and say, I don't want to be like them, but they have some attributes that I would really like to learn how to expand and embrace. You're not wanting to trade your life for theirs. Like there's things that I see some leaders do that I really like, and then other things I don't like. Well, I don't want to take the things I don't like. I can just emulate what's positive. So you might have people in your life like that.
Fantastic. Prince and Peyton Manning in one podcast episode about sales.
This is
anybody find me a better deal.
Yeah.
Find me a better one. It's not out there. Advanced Selling Podcast.
All right. Join us on LinkedIn, advancedsellingpodcast.com/LinkedIn. Also, we have not promoted the book 12 Bold Moves. It's where we took some of the content from the Insider program, put it together. It's a book right now. You can find it 12boldmoves.com. You can buy the ebook or the physical book. I think we have an audio series coming. I'm not sure. Oh. I think I recorded it. I'm not sure. I have a bad memory. Since COVID,
COVID. You recorded it, but you can't hear it because
I can't hear it. Yeah, that's right. That's hilarious.
All right. Good stuff.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye.